Hey everyone, it's Steven from Bluing. We are a digital marketing agency, and one of the things we do is help nonprofits manage their AdGrants accounts. If you're not familiar with AdGrants, it's a program where Google gives $10,000 a month to nonprofits in free paid search advertising. It's a great program, but there's a lot of strings attached, and they actually hold nonprofits to a much higher standard in terms of best practices in their AdGrants accounts as opposed to companies that are paying Google for their search placements. So besides running AdGrants accounts for 4 or 5 different clients right now, I've actually been asked in the past few weeks just to audit a few accounts and check them out. And I've noticed some of the same mistakes in those accounts. So what I wanted to do here was record a quick video showing the 5 most common mistakes I've noticed and how to fix them. So you can take these insights back to your nonprofit, back to your AdGrants account and implement them immediately. So I'm going to use my Bluing ad account as an example here. It's not an AdGrants account, but at least I'll be able to walk through it and show you where to look for these mistakes. The first one I noticed is that a lot of nonprofits use broad match keywords in their accounts. I've had many calls with Google customer support where they highly recommended staying away from broad match keywords. So when you pull up your ad groups and you go into the keyword section, keep an eye out for keywords where there's just sort of plainly written out, like in this case, it just says digital marketing for nonprofit. What you want to have in your account instead is a lot of exact match keywords where there's the brackets at the end. This means that we're bidding exactly on this keyword and nothing else. Or phrase match where you're showing up digital marketing agency for nonprofits. As long as these words show up in one straight line together, you will show up for that. So it could be digital marketing agency for nonprofits in New York, and you would still be bidding on that. The last one you might want to include is a modified broad, where you put the plus sign in front of each word, and that means that each of those words has to show up in the keyword for you to show up. With broad match, Google takes a lot of liberty in changing up and opening up what keywords you might show up for. So just the fact that the word nonprofit is in this broad match keyword would mean that if anyone has nonprofit in their search, Google might enter us into the bidding, which it might be an irrelevant keyword that we don't want. So to exercise tighter control, I would definitely recommend taking a look at your keywords, seeing where there's broad matches set up, and turning those more into exact phrase and modified broad match. I know there's a lot of different match types, but there's a lot of great articles out there that describe what each one does. And I would recommend taking a look at those as you reset up your keywords if you notice that there are a lot of broad match in there. The second thing is Google actually requires in AdGrants accounts that there's at least 2 ads in every ad group. So you'll see here in our ad group here, we have 2 expanded text ads. So at the very bare minimum, your AdGrants account should have 2 expanded text ads in every ad group. Google also recommends that every ad group also has a responsive search ad. So responsive search ads are ones where you put in a bunch of headlines, a bunch of descriptions, and Google will basically pick the best combination based on what people are clicking on. This is the ideal setup for AdGrants, 2 expanded text, 1 responsive, and then you can sort of cycle through the different expanded texts as, there's a winner and loser. You can pause one, add a new one, but I think this setup with 3 different ad types, the 2 expanded text and 1 responsive search, is the ideal setup for an AdGrants account. So make sure there's definitely at least 2, and then also add in your responsive search ad. The next thing I noticed in a lot of AdGrants accounts is that there's no conversion tracking. So conversion tracking is basically, when traffic comes through your website, you'll see the clicks in Google AdGrants, but you won't necessarily know if people are taking important actions. So a conversion on your site might be a donation, it might be an email sign up, it might be someone filling out a petition, it might be someone just clicking out of the site to your Facebook profile. Any important action that you want people taking on your site would be a conversion event. And what you want to do is make sure that you're using your AdGrants accounts to drive those conversions. You don't want to just use AdGrants to drive traffic. You want to use AdGrants to drive donations, drive email acquisition, and drive action. So the only way you'll be able to optimize your ads for that to happen is to have conversion tracking set up. This could be a whole video, but look into setting up conversion tracking. There's instructions in Google AdGrants in the account, but hire an expert. Definitely worth it just to set up the right way the first time, and then you're good to go. The fourth thing I've noticed is the bidding on the AdGrants accounts. So this is really important and ties in with the conversion tracking issue. So basically, if you go into your campaign and go to settings, you have this option to change the bidding for the account. So the bidding basically tells Google how you would like them to optimize your spend. So you can say, I want to optimize for clicks, or I want to optimize for conversions, or I want to optimize for a target conversion rate, or I want to optimize for search impression share, where I just want to show up a lot in search results. So, but really at the end of the day, if you have an AdGrants account, there's only two bidding types that I would recommend you have set up. The first one is maximize for clicks, which you can see in my account. I have set up for mine, which basically just tells Google, I want to get as much traffic as possible for my spend. That's really good to do in the beginning. The really interesting thing about AdGrants is that there's a $2 per click cap or ceiling on your maximize for clicks bidding. So you won't spend more than $2 in any click. That's typically okay, but in a lot of competitive niches, say for example, you're someone like searching donate to kids hospital, which is probably a competitive niche. That $2 per click, if there's other people actually paying Google to show up for those results, they're going to get the higher placement because they're paying $4, $5, $6, $7 or more dollars to show up for that click. Whereas the AdGrants account will have a $2 ceiling. That changes though when you maximize for conversions. So when you maximize for conversions, which is the only other conversion type or bidding type that I would recommend for an AdGrants account, that $2 per click ceiling can actually be broken. So it ties into what I mentioned earlier about the importance of setting up conversion tracking, but it's even more important because if you do optimize for conversions or maximize for clicks, when you change your bid strategy here, you'll actually be able to break through that $2 ceiling as long, again, as you're tracking conversions and Google has enough data in terms of the conversions that they're tracking to then optimize the account for conversions. So in general, in terms of bidding, start with maximize for clicks, set up your conversion tracking, get a bunch of conversions in the account. They typically recommend 15 conversions over 30 days, and then switch your bidding over to maximize for conversions because Google will have enough conversion data to be able to optimize your ad account for conversions. So that's sort of how I would approach bidding in general. Any other sort of bidding types, whether it's impression share, conversion value, target CPA, you can basically ignore those for now. And if you have an AdGrants account, again, just focus on clicks or conversions. The last one I wanted to flag is automated rules. So if you go into your tools and settings and go to rules, let's see, changes. So I don't have any rules set up here, but I'll show you an example. So there's two really important rules that AdGrants requires to keep your account in compliance. Otherwise, they will disable it, which is a nightmare because you never know when you're going to get it back. The first rule is that all keywords must have a 5% plus click-through rate. So when people see your ads, at least 5% of them need to be clicking on the ad. The other rule is that your keywords have to have a quality score of 3 or above. Any keyword with a quality score of 2 or less that's running for a while could get your account deactivated. What's cool is that you can actually just set up rules that will automatically pause these keywords if they have less than a 5% click-through rate or a quality score of 2 or less. So that way you don't have to worry about it. They'll be paused automatically before your account is disabled. So again, if you go to tools and settings, go to rules. Again, this is not an AdGrants account, but I'll show you how to set it up. You might want to set up a keyword rule where, we pause keywords, all enabled keywords, frequency, let's say, once a week on Sundays at 9 a.m. using data from the previous 14 days. So once a week they'll look at the last 2 weeks of data, and then we'll say this pause keyword with 5% less than 5% CTR. So I'll add this condition here and I'll say it's fine, click-through rate. is less than 5%. So I'll apply that. So now I have a setup where it's going to pause keywords. It counts for all my keywords across all campaigns. The condition is that the click-through rate is less than 5%. And once a week, this will run looking at the data for the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to save this rule. And now moving forward, I'll know that on every Sunday, any keyword that has a less than 5% click-through rate will be paused automatically. You can set up a similar rule for any keyword that has a quality score of 2 or less. And with that in place, you don't have to worry about getting your ad account disabled because of those two issues. So yeah, those are the 5 most common mistakes I've seen in AdGrants accounts. If you want to talk about this more, shoot me an email, steven@bluewing.co. Just if you have any other questions, just let me know. And I hope this was helpful. Thanks.